Good afternoon, delegates and hackers and judges. My name is Jeremy, and I'm joined up here with two of my teammates, Jim and Peter, and we're AstroMap. So essentially, we're all strangers. We met on Friday, and we didn't necessarily know much about each other, which is interesting because then we found we needed to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses and then work on a project together. So the interesting part of this is that the dynamic worked out very nicely because we have two business students, two front-end developers, and two back-end developers. And we decided to work on kind of a merge of a project. The asteroid imagery sharing project, where NASA wanted us to create an open source platform for sharing images, and the visualize the asteroid skies, which kind of go hand in hand. So let's start up with our thought process. In space, there are approximately 1,000 close, near-Earth objects that are more than 1 kilometer large. But we don't necessarily know much about the NEOs that are smaller. And as a result, they potentially pose threats to us. So some of the questions that we ask ourselves are, what can we learn from studying these objects? What are the implications of their patterns? And do we need to worry about Earth safety? And then we broke it down into some key challenges that we needed to overcome. And the first one being, how can we proactively track these large NEOs? And secondly, how can we discover and track smaller NEOs? Essentially, we're mandated with the task of consolidating this information into one platform that is available to everybody worldwide.
So AstroMaps essentially is an application that satisfies the need to track, map, and research NEOs by consolidating all existing information as well as continuously crowdsourcing input from our target market. Now the question is, who is our target market? We've been able to conclude that people who are passionate about astronomy as well as space, but also have the equipment that are necessary, equipment capabilities to actually gaze into space is a very niche market. The reason is because the level of investment needed is very high from a both personal as well as monetary perspective. As such, we are positioning our application as a community platform for people to share their passions with each other, to create an environment where people can collaboratively learn through each other's work. Now I want to introduce Bob. He works at TELUS, but apart from that, he's also an amateur astronomer, and his passion for this topic led him to build his own private observatory. Now, through remote Wi-Fi connections, people are able to tap into the live feeds of his work. However, right now, Bob uses Flickr, websites such as Flickr, personal websites, as well as real-life meetups to share his work with people who are also passionate about this. So the problem really is there is no platform that caters specifically to the needs of this passionate community, where people like Bob worldwide can share their work and passion with each other, which is why we have AstroMaps.
So we wanted to, we created a pretty functional backend, but our front end isn't completely ready. So what we've done is created a nice mock-up of what the landing page would look like here. And as you can see, you would see basically a star map, a map of the sky, and by clicking on specific points, you could see what asteroid or near-Earth object would be the closest to that specific spot based on calibrated values. So cool things to see would be estimated velocity and whatnot. And that picture would probably be crowdsourced from somebody, let's say from Brazil or India, these guys that are really into their passion. And the second part that we wanted to introduce would be the browse function. And this is where people could really look at the raw data and research with each other in order to come up with new findings.
So we've talked about our basic functionality of this application, where we've kind of positioned it as an application that creates a worldwide neighborly community in this small application where people can communicate with each other as well as experiential learning. But the question is, what are the long-term implications of this? Well, over time, we'll be able to build up large amounts of data where institutions such as NASA is able to create predictive forecast models to kind of gauge potential threats of NEOs near Earth. Furthermore, we've identified the education vertical as an area of great opportunity. Because when you think of universities such as U of T or York University, they have these equipment set up to actually gauge into space for people to use. So by selling in our application and incorporating it into their curriculum, we'll be able to promote more exploration and further usage.
So to summarize, we come up with those questions at the beginning of our task. we broke it down into 2 issues that we wanted to solve. And essentially, the AstroMap community is able to overcome these challenges. And what we really wanted to accomplish was to create a global space where passionate space lovers can come together and explore. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and open up the floor to any questions.
Hi. This sounds to me like Instagram for asteroids.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
Was that where you got some of that inspiration, or is that where you got some of that inspiration?
Yeah, right now we've identified that right now when you look at certain platforms that are open source for people to explore space, kind of get data and everything, it's more catered towards the professional fields where scientists are able to grab this information and stuff. But we identified this kind of opening in a market where amateur astronomers are also passionate about this field, but they don't have the necessary platform to share this passion with each other, which is kind of where we got the inspiration to create, I guess you can call it a Facebook for amateur astronomers to kind of merge together and like collaborate together, because there is no platform right now that exists catered towards the amateur market.
So is the idea to have all of this information in one place, and who would own this information?
It's open sourced.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So that was my question, is this a database, or is it pictures and with some information about the pictures? Back to spaceweather.com.
Yeah.
The people send in their pictures, it gets archived there, and they have all the specs of where they took it, when it was, what the camera looks like. Is that kind of what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would have a database or just like a Flickr archive with data? I'm just curious how you saw that, because it could be unwieldy if you're trying to keep them all. So I'm just curious.
Well, yeah, it is a pretty substantial database. One of the key things was it's also part of a request, kind of a request from the minor planets. They talk about they've got a big database, but there are no pictures. So I got this distinct impression from the Google Hangout that they would really like to have pictures. And this is basically, frankly, that would probably be the host, ultimately, of this, would be the minor planets.
Thank you.